Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. In this video I will talk about the lessons I learned in 2024 through journaling. I always read back my journal entries of the year that is now closing off, which was 2024, it's now 2025, in case you didn't notice. And I always look for patterns, lessons I learned, things that I want to take with me in 2025, but also things that I want to leave in 2024, and just seeing all the things that I have accomplished in the previous year and just a little moment of reflection. And I was thinking, but isn't it nice if I can share the wisdom that I gathered this year with you guys? So that's what we're going to do. I have made a cozy setup. I have my tea, my candles behind me, and my journals here with me. And I am ready to talk about the things that I learned in 2024. I have made 3 categories. The first one is social, the second one is creative, and the third one is personal development / growth. I have the most lessons in the last category, but we will start with social and work our way up to personal development. One side note, it's very cloudy today and I hope the sun will stay where it is, as I left my pocket light at home. It is what it is, so let's just hop into the lessons. At the beginning of 2024, I had this conversation with an older woman, and it was very from the heart. It really lit me up, and it was really a lesson that I needed to hear at that specific moment. And she told me the story of a diamond. And it was about how people are like diamonds and how we have all those facets. And you know that the diamond can lit up on all these facets. And she was like, you don't have to have friends or people around you that have all the same interests and hobbies as you have. But it's important to search people that lit up all of the facets you have. Because if you have one facet that can never lit up, you won't feel complete. And for me, that was so interesting because I can be a very high-aiming person for myself, but this can also reflect upon my friends sometimes because I hope they have certain gifts or certain personality traits so that they match completely with me, which is nonsense. And I think that was very eye-opening for me to see how important it is in the first place to have people that lit you up on every facet in your life, but also not judge people by having other interests than you. Not that I did that, but I think it's very important to realize that we surround us with people that make us happy and give us energy instead of people that drain our energy, because sometimes we feel obliged to have interactions with people who do drain our energy. And for me, this was like, okay, I need to be more thoughtful about the people that I surround myself with. 2024 was for me also the year of realizing how many people have your back. And I know that this is easy to say for someone that comes from a very loving family and a very caring friend group. I always know that I have their support, but I also discovered in this year that there are more people that care for you. And a lot of people where you didn't really think of that they did care for you. For example, I went through a rougher period with losing a beloved and also trying to graduate. It was a lot on my plate at that certain moment. I could feel lost at that moment because I felt like things were getting out of hand and I didn't have the control over my own life. But then people showed up for me that I didn't know cared about me, and I think that was really eye-opening for me. For example, my teacher that guided me through the process was really caring and was seeking for solutions and giving me space to really grieve and everything without giving me the feeling that I was getting behind on stuff. And I think we often forget that there are maybe people you didn't even know they cared about you. Maybe it's just someone you barely talk with, but really admires you and does care about you. Or maybe it's someone you haven't spoken with for years, but they have a special place for you in their heart because they knew you when they were younger and you knew the real them, or something like that. And I think we often forget that there are maybe a lot of people that do care about you that you forget about because you're so focused on maybe the people that don't have time for you. But anyways, for me, it was really a year of realizing how many people there are for support if you need to. One thing that I was told in the beginning of the year during my internship, someone was teaching me a few things on After Effects and how I could animate certain things. And I know the basics of After Effects, and it came to my attention that this person wasn't using the shortcuts that I knew there was. And I didn't understand why, because this person was really good at using After Effects. So, of course, he knew these shortcuts, but I didn't know why he didn't use them. So, first lesson, but this wasn't really the lesson. If you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask. But that's something I learned, I think, in previous years. I need to adjust my camera. So I asked him why he didn't use them, and he was like, well, in the creative process, it's the unexpected we need. And I thought that was so interesting, and it really changed my view on making creative works, because I think a part of creativity is in, like he said, letting the unexpected happen. And if you constantly do the same thing, use the same shortcuts, use the same way of creating something, you will never create something new, you will never discover something new. And I think it's very triggering and interesting for our mind to try new things and don't use these shortcuts. And ever since he said this has been so eye-opening for me and so useful in creating, because I don't think we have to bind ourselves to the things we know in creativity, but also have to try new things. And this is also something that's really helped me on a personal level, as I think we don't need to stick ourselves to something we know, and we need to try and embrace change, how hard it can be, because sometimes change is just what we need. This lesson was hard to place, but I decided to place it with creativity. And it's a saying. It's what comes from the heart goes to the heart. And I already knew this saying, but I think I really experienced it in this past year. And this can be on a personal level, it can be on a social level, but it can also be on a creative level. And I think I implemented it mostly on a creative level, but I learned the lesson through a personal level, because I had to give a lot of speeches, a lot of presentations, pitches in the past year. This is something, especially I think 4 years back, it was something that I found very scary. But if it comes to a creative level, I think we always create from a place of love, or that sounds very cheesy, but from a place of things that inspire us, that lit us up, that give us this spark. So of course you have a certain devotion to the things you create. For me, it was my graduation movie, and I had this motivation to make this movie. I had so many things that bound me to this movie on a more personal level. And I discovered that if I really prepared the pitch word by word and wrote down everything, people didn't really get the message. And once I started to really speak from the heart and the things that I thought that mattered for this movie or thought that were important, I captivated so much more people with my story. And ever since, I no longer prepare my text for a presentation. I do use like notes to write down the flow of my presentation. So I want to start with this, then I want to do this, and then I want to do this. But I will not type out the whole script for what I will say during the presentation. And I know that this is something that isn't the same for everyone, but I think it's worth a try to really speak from the heart instead of speaking from the mind, like what are they gonna like, what is the thing they want to hear, instead of what is the thing that I want to say, what is the thing that I want them to hear. And then we already came to the personal development part of this video, and I know it's a lot. There are 6 lessons here, so let's just dive in. Starting off with a paradox. Maybe you already heard from this paradox, maybe it's new to you, but the paradox goes: you can believe that you cannot achieve something that you are not capable, and it will be true. But you can also believe that you are capable and you can achieve something, and it will also be true. And then the question is, how can those things be true at the same time? I really experienced this year, because with my graduation movie, especially in the beginning of the process when everything seemed so overwhelming, I was like, I'm never able to make this all happen within half a year. How am I going to do this? I'm just a student. I am only 20 years old. How am I supposed to make this happen? In the beginning of the year, I didn't get a lot done. It's not that I didn't get anything done, but I noticed that the pace and how things were moving forward was very slow. And this also made me feel like it was indeed something that would fail for sure. Which is nonsense, because if I look at my past experiences with bigger projects, I most of the time nail them. That sounded a bit cocky, but it's true. And later on in the year, when I really found a passion and a motivation for my film project, I started to use affirmations, started to really believe in myself and believing that I was capable and believing that I could make this work, that I was a strong film student who had already 3.5 years of experience, who did know how to put it into words and how to win people for her in a positive way. And from the moment that I started to believe in myself and believing that I could indeed do this, I also gathered a lot of people that started to believe in me, because they trusted the fact that I knew what I was doing and knew that I was guiding them towards a great end result. So I got their motivation, their support, but also I was much more excited to take action, to make things happen, and the pace of the process was so much faster than the beginning of the year. That's where I learned that both of the things can be true. Your mindset becomes your reality, and that can be reassuring at times. And lesson 4 is like something in addition to what I just said. I made in my journal a lot of lists about the things that stressed me out. To really put this in perspective, I would write down everything that stressed me out, and then on another page I would write down the consequences if it indeed went completely wrong and the worst case scenario would happen. How bad was it really? Maybe I had to do another year of film school, but was it the end of the world? No, it wasn't. But anyway, that being said, I had this list of all the things that stressed me out. And now, later on in the year, I already did all those things. And I already knew how they went, how did it go. So for me, this was very funny, I think, because I was like, girl, what were you stressing about? Because you nailed those things. It went so well. You did great. You were stressing about nothing. And I think deep down I already knew that I was going onto the right path and I was doing my best. I think this learned me 2 things. First of all, that I need to trust my gut feeling more. If I think that I'm doing something right, I'm probably doing something right. But also it learned me that I don't need to stress myself out about things that I already proved myself in and I already know that I am capable of. Because stressing, well, it can be good because it can prepare us at sometimes, but also it can cost so much energy. And if it's out of our control, the things that are happening, why would we stress about them? And of course, I know this is said very easily, and I probably will stress about a lot of things in the future. But I think this really serves me as a reminder to put things in a perspective and validate my word instead of talking it all down, because then the stress gets power over me and I don't want that. Now we're going to the next lesson. I noticed that I said numbers before, but I have made a list and then I made the categories and the numbers are going like crisscross, not in chronological order. But anyway, I'm now at 0.5, but this is not 0.5 in the video. So I learned that the first step towards change is recognition. And I know that there are a lot of cliches in my video, but sometimes we need to hear these things, even if it's like over and over again. And sometimes we know things, but we need to experience them. And I did experience this. I think I went through a lot of change in 2024. So much has changed for me. I live somewhere else now. I am now studying animation. I already graduated film school. I made a lot of new friends. Boy, this was a year of change. And I really realized that the moment you recognize a habit of yourself or something that you want and you embrace this, whether it's something positive or negative, you can then take action to change this or make it happen. For example, at the beginning of the year, I felt so lost because I didn't know what I wanted to do after I graduated. And this is also a lesson that comes later on. And then I realized, but I want to learn. The moment that I recognized this, I could embrace this, okay, like what will be the effects for my future and how will the future turn out if I embrace this? And then I could take action. But also with habits of mine that I didn't like people pleasing, I really started to recognize this and embrace this. And I'm still learning to change this, but we are taking baby steps because I already recognize this and also embrace the fact that I have this habit. And that it's something that's staying with me for a while and it's just part of me and it will not be gone within a year, within 2 years, but I'm working on it. And the fact that I embrace this as a part of me makes it so much more okay. And then we go to the lesson that was around graduating, because I always felt like that the moment you graduate, you have to have life figured out. But that's bullshit. I was 20 when I heard that I graduated, even though I turned 21 that same week. But anyway, 21, 20, you are young. That's so young. How am I supposed to know what I want in the future? I mean, like, I wasn't even an adult in most countries. Some would say I was a 1-year-old adult. 1-year-olds don't have much experience. And I really realized that everyone was going through this struggle because a lot of my friends were graduating, whether they were graduating from the same school as me or something completely else. I see all of my friends taking different steps. Sure, there are some that are now having a job and really focusing on work life, but most of them are just figuring out what they want to do, if they want a master's or not, if they want to do another study or not, if some of them are taking a break to really figure out what they want to do. And I think all of this is fine. It's okay to not know what you want. And it's okay to take your time to make a decision because, well, we are working pretty large amount of time of our life. That was a very crappy sentence. point being, it's okay to take your time to choose something that fits for you, as you will spend a lot of time there. And also, if you choose something that doesn't fit, you can also choose something else. So it's not the end of the world, but you shouldn't take your choice lightly, I think. And you shouldn't feel pressure to know everything immediately, because everything is moving at their own pace. And some of my friends do know what they want. Some of my friends are still doubting what they want to do, and that's fine. Everything comes at the right moment once you need it. At least that's my philosophy this year, which is also lesson number 10, point number 10 on my list, not like in the video, like I explained before. I think this is more like an affirmation that I learned, but I am at the right time, at the right place, at the right moment, every time. And that really changed my mindset, and I think I really learned this lesson in Slovenia. I don't know if this is necessarily true, because I also think this is a part of what you personally believe. This mindset really changed my mind. If something was not turning out the way I wanted it to, I could get very upset or angry or just frustrated. And in Slovenia, where I was on a holiday by car, by myself, with my boyfriend, I really started to have like thoughts like, but what, because a lot of things didn't go as planned, side note. But what if this was supposed to happen, because the thing that's happening now is so much more in alignment with what we need? Or what if we are being protected by a guardian angel because we both asked for protection before we hopped in the car? I know, sweet, right? What if this traffic jam is here because if we were at another place at another time, something terrible would happen? And I know that's a very dark mindset, but it's also, for me personally, like, okay, maybe it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but maybe this is for the better. And that really relevated like most of my thinking, and also stopped me from ruining my day by letting things get to me as easily as I did before, once they didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Oh, we already came to the last lesson. This is going fast. Is it going fast? Oh, we already are recording for half an hour. And this is more, I think, the more journal-related lesson of everything that I learned. As I learned this year that shadow work really gives me the power to control my life more. I didn't really like shadow work that much, or it's not that I didn't like it, but I could find the questions very confronting, and therefore I didn't do it that very often. This year, I really tried to do a lot of shadow work. So much was changing, and I felt like I was changing a lot, and I really wanted to know who I was now that everything was changing, and like getting to know myself on a deeper level. I could feel lost sometimes. And I still do, and that's okay. By doing a lot of shadow work, I really got to know myself. Like, okay, but I'm doing this because of this and this and this. And the effect of this is, once you do something you did some shadow work about, you can put it in a perspective. Like, okay, take a step back. What did you write? Okay, like, take a breather. It's okay. You're an adult.
I need to calm down. Everything's fine.
Amanda.
I'm an adult.
I know where this comes from. And I can take control over the situation by just putting it in a perspective. I'm losing all my words right now. Or once you show a certain behavior that you didn't know you had in you, or you're like, okay girl, where does this come from? I knew that I just could simply reflect upon this by doing some shadow work in the evening, so that I would understand my feelings better, and thereby handling it better in the future. So that were all the lessons I had in store for you. I hope some of these lessons were just the thing you needed to hear right now, or that also come in as a lesson for you at this time. The last thing I want to say is, please like, subscribe, comment, you know the drill. And I hope I see you in the next video, and I am wishing you the best for 2025. Bye!